Hi everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for grade 6 math. You can find all the lessons on eclassstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab. Scroll down to grade 6 math and then click on view all lessons. There you can find the list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter ratios and rates. Please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions there as well. Here I'm on grade 6 math. The chapter we are on right now is ratios and rates. Let's just start with the first lesson, that is solve the proportion. Solve the proportion t over 9 equals 2 times 3. So you have to solve this proportion for t. We need to find the value of t. So we simply go to the cross multiplication method. That means you need to multiply the numerator of this fraction by the denominator of the other fraction, and the denominator of the first fraction with the numerator of the second fraction. You have to do t times 3 equals 9 times 2. 9 times 2 is 18. Then you have to divide both sides by 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 6 is 18. So that means t equals 6. So the value of the t is 60 equals 6. Let's just start with the test questions. Solve the proportion d by 6 equals 5 by 2. So you need to find the value of d. You have to do the cross multiplication method, that is d times 2, sorry, not d. That is d times 2 equals, you have to multiply d times 2 and then 6 times 5. So d times 2 and 6 times 5 is 30. You have to find the value of d only. So you have to divide both sides by 2. 2 and 2 cancel out. So d equals 15. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is d equals 15. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 15. Solve the proportion 9 over 1 equals u divided by 8. So just solve using cross multiplication method. That is 9 times 8 equals u times 1. So u equals 9 times 8 is 72. Option number 2 is the correct option. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is u equals 72. Solve the proportion u divided by 7 equals 2 times 1, so 2 by 1. So which is the correct option? Let's just solve it for the u. That is u times 1 equals 7 times 2. So 7 times 2 is 14. So u equals 14. Option number 3 is the correct option. Option number 3 is the correct option. 14 it is. Solve the proportion. So q equals that is q equals 15. Option number 1 is the correct option. 15 it is. D over 1 equals 6 over 8, which is the correct option. Just cross multiply and find the value of D. So that is 6 times 8 equals D times 1. So 6 times 8 is 48 and D times 1 is D. So that is D equals 48. That is option number 2 is the correct option. 48 it is. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself today. Let me just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is write an equivalent ratio. Find a number that makes the ratio equivalent to 1:5. That is 1:5. Here you have 4 and the missing one, right? 1 times 4 is 4. So you have to do 5 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. That is 20. So the missing number is 20. Let's just start with the test questions. Find a number that makes the ratio equivalent to 4:1. That is 4:1. And you have 8 and missing ratio. So 4 times 2 is 8, right? So here then you have to do 1 times 2. So the missing number is that is 1 times 2 is 2. So option number 2 is the correct option. That would be 8:2. The missing one is 2. Find a number that makes the ratio equivalent to 4:8. So which is the missing number? That is 4:8. And here you have 8:, the missing number. Four times 2 is 8. So 8 times 2 is 16. That is 8:16. Option number 2 is the correct option. Very good. Find the number that makes the ratio equivalent to 1:3. Which is the correct option? That is 1:3 and 5 the missing one, right? So 1 times 5 is 5. So that means 3 times 5 it is. So 3 times 5 is that is 15. That is 5:15. Option number 1 is the correct option. Find the number that makes the ratio equivalent to 1:6. 1:6. So you have 9 the missing one. So 1 times 9 is 9. And 6 times 9 is 54. That is 9:54. That is 9:15. Option 2 is the correct option. Find a number that makes the ratio equivalent to 1:4. Can you guys please focus on the lesson we are working on? You can have your chit chat later. That is 1 times 4 is 4 and 4 times 4 is 16. So the option number 2 is the correct option. That is that is 4:16. Option number 2 is the correct option. Option number 2 is the correct option. Find the number that makes the ratio equivalent to 2:4. That is 8:16. Option number 2 is the correct option. Find the number that makes the ratio equivalent to 1:5. So which is the correct option? That is 4:20. Very good. Option number 3 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself away today. Let me just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is unit rates and equivalent rates. Okay, the lesson has been moved to grade 7. Okay, let's just move on to the next lesson. That is money. Let's just start with the next lesson. That is multiply money by whole numbers and decimals. 241 times 0.1. So you have to multiply 245 times 0.1. So basically you need to count the total number of decimal places in the factor. So 245, there is 0 decimal place. You do not have any decimal place over here. And 0.1 has only one decimal place. So we have total one decimal place. So that means you need to move decimal point one place left. So that is 245. And when you move decimal point, it would be 24.50. That is $24.50. Okay, let's just start with the test questions. Multiply 63 times 0.3. So you have only one decimal place here. Let's just multiply without the decimal. 3 times 3 is 9 and 3 times 6 is 18. You have to move one decimal place. That is actually like this. And then you have to move it here. That is 18.9. Option number 1 is the correct option. That is 18.9. Option number one is the correct option. 18.9 it is. Multiply 694 times 0.5. So let's just multiply without the decimal. That is 694 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 carry. 5 times 9 is 45 and 2 47. 5 times 6 is 30 and 4 34. So 0.5 has only one decimal place. So you have to move decimal point on the left. You have to move from here to here. That is 347.0, or that equals 347. Option number 3 is the correct option. That is 347. Can you guys please stop chatting and focus on the lesson we are working on? Zero 0.48 times 0.1, which is the correct option? Round your answer to the nearest cent. So which is the correct option? Option number one is the correct option. It would be 0.05. Option number one is the correct option. Option number one is the correct option. The next one is 0.55 times 0.2, which is the correct option. Zero 0.55 times 0.2 equals That is option number 2 is the correct option. That is 0.11 is the correct option. 25 times 0.8. So which is the correct option? Two is the correct option. $20 it is. Multiply 0.56 times 0.7. If necessary, round your answer to the nearest cent. So let's just multiply them without decimal point. You have to do 56 times 7. 7 times 6 is 42 to 4 carry. 7 times 5 is 35, 36, 37, 30, 39. So you have total 3 decimal places. You need to move decimal point 3 places left. So 1, 2, 3. It would be moved from here to here. So that is 0.39. Option number 3 is the correct option. The correct option is option number 3. That is 0.39. Multiply 0.25 times 0.4. So 0.25 times 0.4. Option number 1 is the correct option. The correct option is option number 1. 0.10 is the correct option. Multiply 0.47 times 0.3. So let's just multiply 0.47 times 0.3. That is 0.14. Option number 2 is the correct option. That is 0.14. Option 2 is the correct option, not 1. Finally, someone is focused on the lesson we are working on. Two point five one times 0.5. 2.51 times 0.5. That is 1.24. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself with it today. So we were working on grade 6 math. The chapter we were working on is, so we have started with the chapter ratios and rates. The lessons we have covered on the chapter are solve the proportion and write the equivalent ratios. Then we have started the chapter money, and on the chapter we did only one lesson. The lesson is multiply money by whole numbers and decimals. So please make sure to go the next session. You can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we just did. That is your homework until next session. So if you need more help with any of the lessons, you can simply click on the live chat button. Tutors are available there to help you, or either you can write down the questions in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. So you can please write down the questions in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. Any questions? You guys are simply wasting your own time and the other time also. You are here to learn, so you have to be focused on the learning. Okay, bye everyone.